Hello and welcome back to DRT. So today we're going to be talking about the new Miyoo device out on the market. Now since back last year, this thing has been my very favorite emulation device. And when I heard that Miyoo were actually bringing out a new device, I was so happy. And do you know what made it even better? Is the fact that you were able to play PSP on this device. And I am absolutely all about that. So today we're going to be looking at the Miyoo A30. But one of the things I really want to talk about is how well this device works, because I heard a lot of things online, some things positive, some things negative, so I really want to get into this. And before we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button and let us know what you think of the video down below. And if you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe and all that fun stuff. So let's get into it. So first up, we're having a look at the contents of the box. Now it came with this nice little carrying case. It came in pretty presentable condition, and it comes with your standard USB-C cable. It came with a nice little headphone jack port for the USB-C port, and then you get the actual device, which was very nicely packaged. Now, one of the big things for me for this was I wanted to be able to play PSP games on it, so that was the first thing that I tried. So I booted up the system, which took an awfully long time considering. It was about 3 to 5 seconds to actually switch this thing on. Yeah, eventually it did switch on into this very weird OS. Now, as to be expected, one of the first things that I wanted to try out was the PSP, and it did not go well. I'm not entirely sure why, but the audio just sounded janky. Not only did the audio sound quite bad, but the actual game was running a lot faster than it should have been, and I'm not entirely sure why that was. Now, what was really weird about this was it wasn't just that one PSP game. All the PSP games seem to run like really fast, and I don't understand why. So next up, I tried the PlayStation 1, and that seemed to run just a little bit fine. There was a few stutters here and there, but overall the emulation for this wasn't too bad at all. Now Graham is going to absolutely love that I said this, but the N64 actually runs amazing on this thing, and then the little analog stick really makes good use out of it with the N64. It was actually really good, and I had absolutely no complaints. There was no audio stutters. The emulation was almost perfect. I really enjoyed it, so I hate to say that N64 is pretty good on this little thing. Unfortunately though, this is where things really started to take a downward spiral. I checked out the SNES emulator on this thing, and I thought anything below PS1 was going to be okay. However, it didn't turn out that way. The SNES emulation was absolutely horrendous. I had a really bad time with this. I don't know why, but it was really jittery. It seemed to stutter and stumble, and I thought, how can this happen? How can you go from N64, which works really good, to really bad emulation for SNES? I mean, that's something that most of these handhelds have actually been able to master and achieve and do really well for years. It's always the later stuff, PS1 onwards, that have ever struggled. I have no clue why this had so much trouble, but I checked out Earthbound, and it just absolutely tanked on me. It really struggled, so I don't know what went on there. The other thing that I checked out then was Dreamcast, and I thought, oh, well, you know, let's see where this goes. This is a mixed bag at this point. I don't know how this is going to go. And, oh boy, it ended up tanking and completely dying on me. This thing, I don't know why, I loaded up Marvel vs. Capcom, and it was really bad. The emulation was poor, the audio wasn't working very well, and then I was in the middle of a match, and all of a sudden it just died. I don't know why, I don't know what happened, it just died, and for a good 5 minutes it wouldn't switch back on. So I got really fed up of it, and I thought, there's got to be something. Well, it turns out that Onion OS is what sorted out the original Miyoo Mini and the Miyoo Mini Plus. It was a game changer for that system. This wasn't and hasn't been available for this yet. Now, they say it might come in the future, but there's no guarantee that this is going to be a thing. So I searched the internet, and I found that there's a custom firmware out there called Spruce. And this kind of does what Onion OS does and kind of sorts it out a little bit. So I'll put links to this down in the description below if this is something you want to check out. And on the website, it tells you all the stuff that it does. It improves pretty much everything to do with this little system. It improves the brightness because the screen has actually been an issue in the past. This has actually been inspired by the Onion OS team, and they did a really good job on this. It definitely improves performance and allows you to overclock some of the systems on there, so it makes it work just that little bit better. I'll be completely transparent with you guys. I actually still have a lot of trouble playing Dreamcast games and PSP games on this thing, but everything else just runs smooth as butter now. So I do recommend doing this if you are someone that likes to tinker around with stuff, because it is quite difficult to play without this custom firmware. So as I did with my Miyoo Mini, I bought a brand new SD card, just popped it into the computer and just transferred all the files over. It's pretty straightforward. The only thing you have to add yourself is ROMs, as well as the BIOS files, which can be found in the original card that you get. So as you can see, this loads into a completely new interface, which is very slimline and trim, and I gotta be fair, I like it a lot. As I was looking through all the systems, most of them were there. Nintendo DS actually popped up, but I noticed that Dreamcast and PSP were missing. So I went over to RetroArch and I found that there was the Dreamcast emulator in there. So I booted up Marvel vs. Capcom again, and to be fair, it was a lot better, but it definitely still had a lot of jank to it. It still was stuttering, there was a few audio glitches, and it was really struggling. So I thought I'd give it a go. It didn't crash on me this time, but it's still not quite there, so I don't know what's going on with that. It just struggles with Dreamcast emulation. I don't know if that's Miyoo just being a bit overzealous with the new chip that they've put in, but it just didn't work too well with Dreamcast. So I went back and booted up Earthbound to see if that was any better, and to my surprise, and not really to my surprise, it worked just as intended. I don't know why this had such a problem, but the Spruce update definitely fixes a lot of the issues with that. I didn't have any more slowdowns or stuttering or audio glitches or anything like that. It just ran as it was intended. Now, one of the main reasons I love these little emulation devices is because you can play homebrew and you can play sort of fan-made games or hacked ROMs or anything like that. So I thought I'd check out this new ROM that's been going around of Super Mario Maker on the N64. And yeah, this thing ran smooth as butter. It was really good. It's something I hope to get a bit more stuck into now that I've got this running as needed. But I really am happy with how this is running now, and it seems to cope with everything on the screen fine. Now, one of the things that seemed really weird to me was the fact that the PlayStation 1 emulation just seemed a little bit slow. I'm not entirely sure why it felt like it had slowed down, but it just, I don't know, it just felt a little bit off. So I actually pulled out my Miyoo Mini just to kind of compare it, and you can see through this footage here that it's a lot quicker, and I really don't know why it slowed down the PS1 on the A30, but the PS1 emulation on the Miyoo Mini is the proper speed and it all seems to run fine. So there we go, that is the A30. Now, I can't say that I can recommend this thing. It has a lot of flaws and a lot of issues. I think it's going in the right direction, and I am praying, I am really hoping, fingers crossed, that Miyoo and Onion OS will combine once again and do the magic that it did with the Miyoo Mini Plus, because the A30 is just struggling in that respect. It's like it hasn't been optimized, or something isn't quite right there. And this Spruce OS is okay, but I think Onion is the way to go. So I am really hoping that that goes that way. But there are a ton of emulation devices on the market at the moment. Miyoo isn't the only one. There's Ambinic devices, there's lots of other ones as well. There's Android devices. They're all different for everyone's needs. So if this fits your needs, then, and you don't mind a little bit of tinkering, then maybe this with the Spruce OS might be the way to go. But there are definitely other ones on the market that won't need any sort of tinkering or messing around. It just depends on what your needs are and what your emulation wants are as well. But overall, the A30, I don't think I can recommend it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I just wanted to showcase some of the headaches that I had with this little device. I mean, it was really good, and I had a lot of promise, especially following up the Miyoo Mini Plus. But I just think Miyoo have just maybe half-baked this thing. I'm not entirely sure. But anyways, if you enjoyed this and you like what you saw today, please chuck us a like, follow, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Let us know down in the comments below as well. Is this something that you would look at picking up? Have you picked one up? Have you found anything a bit odd or a bit bizarre with it? Let us know. I would really be intrigued to see if I'm the only one having these issues, because I've seen reviews online that say, yeah, some of this stuff works really well, and then I've gone to use it and I've had those sorts of issues. I've had people say that the Dreamcast emulation isn't too bad, whereas it completely tanked my system, so I don't know. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.